Imagine if you were National Security Counselor, National Security Advisor today. I mean, President Obama goes to Cairo and makes his famous Cairo speech.
Yes.
And maybe in the be careful what you wish for department, we now have the Arab Spring. Where does that leave the Obama administration and this president with respect to its policy toward the Middle East?
In a very complicated position.
You are so diplomatic.
No, the president's Cairo speech was a traditional speech, and it was a brilliant speech. And the Middle East in general just fell in love with that speech. Now, however, it's not quite so clear what the United States really thinks about the Arab Spring. Half a dozen countries were in turmoil. Who did we choose to apply force against? Libya. Is Libya the most important country in the region? And now I'm an Egyptian, or I'm a Syrian. Why did the United States do that? So that's a very complicating factor. And now comes a esoteric factor out of left field, which is the Palestinians, who think they ought to profit by the Arab Spring too. And we are now probably the only country supporting Israel in the United Nations with their appeal for statehood. So we've gotten ourselves, it's intrinsically complicated. And it's hard to know how to act.
So what is or what should be our public diplomacy surrounding this very complicated, messy, and maybe contradictory U.S. policy confronting this very complicated, contradictory region? I mean, right? Isn't that what's the story?
Walter's the guy who did that for me.
It's all your fault?
No, it is very complicated. And it's very hard to send the right message.
What is the message?
The message is basically that people ought to have the right to select or modify their government.
And what is our message to the Palestinians?
Well, that's the question. Should it be different for the Palestinians?
Should it?
It is. The president's speech in the UN was a very different speech.